Hello, this is SY. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Story, and we're building the programmable intellectual property layer for the age of AI. Any dog owner knows how hard it is for your dog to look at your camera, and now with just a single sentence, you can have this amazing video of your dog looking at your camera, right? So, and what is really, happening behind this video is actually, let's dig down on the more conceptual side of what's happening in kind of AI. With every single new content technology, there's always a kind of unbundling event. So writing unbundled consumption, anyone can consume knowledge anywhere you want. Printing press unbundled duplication. Internet unbundled distribution, you can distribute across all the globe your content because of the internet. What generative AI has done, you can have an idea, you can substantiate your idea into a fully fledged content creative output right away. And the pace of that won't decelerate, it will only accelerate. The compute going into it, the data going into it is only accelerating, the speed is accelerating. And we, as Story, believe that the largest problem, the gating item for the AI age, is not the speed and performance, but it's actually the intellectual property. It's the intellectual property layer. It's the current intellectual property layer of centralized copyright system. And I kind of define IP layer as a technology-dependent ownership infrastructure to not only protect, but also incentivize creators and creativity. And if I just want to provide you a historical context. Every single content production technology, breakthrough required a new way to incentivize creators. And I'm not going to try to give you a history lesson. Just in a printing press, as I said, unbundled duplication, and with all these copied works, is the printing press owner, is the publisher, or is the investor, is the author? Who's actually owning the content? Only when you have the copyright law as an ownership infrastructure to allocate ownership among these copied works, you've had things like Shakespeare and Charles Dickens. But I think the current state of intellectual property infrastructure is that it's actually too slow to centralize, too much friction to keep up with the pace of abundance that's ushered in by social media and generative AI. And actually, it cannot keep up with the speed and scale and the network nature of the internet. And what I mean by this is that there are basically, with the current centralized intellectual property infrastructure, there are too many middlemen, actually, when you actually want to form an intellectual property network, when you want to build on someone else's IP. You have to, if you want to fork or remix or license J.K. Rowling's or, Mr. Beast's IP, you have to go through agents, lawyers, big tech, so many different middlemen. And, in this, and it's this friction and there's so many middlemen actually provides and actually results in a massive problem when you have huge content abundance in the form of generative AI especially, obviously social media too. And the first market failure of the centralized copyright layer is actually a huge IP congestion and lose-lose IP competition marketplace that you're actually marketplace dynamics you see actually among content participants. So just to kind of zoom out on what I mean by that is every day there's 3.7 million YouTube videos, 34 million TikTok videos a day coming out, and actually this superabundance ushered in by social media is going to just exponentially increase with generative AI, 15 billion images a year. You'll see the same kind of effect with the videos, and more TikTok video, more YouTube videos, more content coming out. And the reason why this is a really, really tough situation for content creators is that because you cannot actually form an IP network and actually create, build on someone else's IP frictionlessly. The only, you cannot build and fork remix on J.K. Rowling's content, commercialize it, Mr. Beast content, or even your friend's TikTok dance moves. Because of that, what exists is you only have an option to compete with other content makers, right? And in that way, in that playing field, what you do is you only just throw more marketing dollars, more game algorithm to just get noticed in this limited real estate of smartphone screen and desktop screen. So imagine a situation where you have a highway. There are more and more cars coming in. You cannot build a bus. You cannot build a train. You cannot build an airplane. And what's happening also is that even though there's no way to legally and easily actually build on top of someone else's content, there's so much pent-up demand for creators and fans to create on someone else's content, right? Still, fan fiction websites gets 3 billion annual visits a year, and with generative AI, people love to remix other people's content in a high-quality format. You'll soon see Harry Potter fan film, not Harry Potter fan fiction. And what that means is that there was a recent incident where Drake actually, someone used Drake's voice to make a song and got #1 in a Spotify and SoundCloud music chart. But actually, Drake is not winning. J.K. Rowling's not winning. The fans not winning. No one's making money here, right? And he got, the content got pulled down right away, right? So what we see at the moment in the content marketplace with the generative AI is like, there's so much increase in abundance of content. Everyone's competing just to get your attention. And IP is a single-player mode game. And if in this single-player mode game, everyone just loses. Everyone just throws more marketing dollars. We need to turn IP into multiplayer mode, not single-player mode. And not only just that, I think the second big problem with this generative AI is that, the centralized copyright layer is so bad at being the IP monetization, attribution, provenance layer for generative AI, right? And just kind of, this video is coming because you've put something you got so much videos being trained on OpenAI, right? And if you asked OpenAI CTO, have you used YouTube videos? She just doesn't answer. She just doesn't want to answer because she probably used it, right? And when that happens, actually this is going to be Google kills local journalism times 1,000. 15 years ago when search ads came out, all the local newspapers in America, from Chicago Tribune and Philadelphia Inquirer, started dying because they can't figure out a business model. And this is 1,000 times worse. Google was actually decent enough to put traffic to your website. Now, you don't even have to go to their website. You just ask them, what is New York Times' view on Israel and Palestine conflict? They'll give you an answer right away, right? So when that happens, all these long-tail content, the TripAdvisor reviews, all these long-tail content that's actually being pumped out, they have no monetization method. So what you see is all these cows or LLMs, the greens are the creative outputs. No one's watering the creative outputs. We're going to go into tragedy of common situation where all these, you need actually creative IPs, right? A human creative IPs to actually keep training and actually growing these cows that are LLMs. But who's going to give the water? Who's going to help them monetize, right? So this is another huge Napster moment, and we think we need a new intellectual property infrastructure to actually tackle this massive challenge that's actually being ushered in by generative AI. And our solution to this is actually pretty simple. NFT is a very simple primitive. NFT was a pointer to media file. It's an ownership scarcity layer for the internet, but it's a static JPEG file. It's not programmable, it's not composable. And what we're doing is we're turning IPs into IP Legos through programmable intellectual property layer we're building. And what it does is every single IP will now have a built-in licensing, royalty sharing, copyright and metadata baked into the IP in the form of NFT. And now, without any middleman, you can use the IP like a Lego piece. And Vitalik always has the best definition of what a blockchain technology is about. It's about taking out intermediaries, taking away the center. And what actually, if you think, programmable money did, it turned money into money Lego. Now money has a built-in API. Any developers can build interesting DeFi applications open and permissionlessly. In the same way, we think the next phase of Web3 should be about actually turning IP into an IP Lego through programmable IP layer that we're building. And now, the static JPEG, monkey pictures, who are trapped in this JPEG file, they can actually be frictionlessly turned into different derivatives instantly, right? Without any middleman. You don't need to go to the lawyers of Yuga Labs. You don't need to go to the business development of the development department of these different NFT companies or actually the owners. And not only that, we think we have a very, very interesting solution to actually serve as an intellectual property layer for generative AI by actually turning training data set, fine-tuning data sets, models, and even outputs into IP Legos with built-in licensing and royalty sharing terms. And with that, we think we now have an actual intellectual property layer that can respond to the challenges of actually generative AI and social media. And I just kind of want to go in to kind of dig down into the kind of technical aspect of the product. And basically, there's two elements to what we call programmable IP in actually Story. One is the nouns, which is the essential metadata that's going into the IP, and one is the verbs that allows you to interact with the IP frictionlessly. Even AI models can interact with the IP frictionlessly without any middleman. So nouns, what it brings is actually it actually creates a global IP repository. Think of it almost like a Git for intellectual property, where every single IP now has a built-in licensing royalty sharing terms baked in and actually stored in that IP asset, right? It's not just a pointer to media file. You now have a machine-readable, writable licensing royalty sharing information. Not only that, now with the verbs, now you can frictionally license and fork and remix the IP. Even AI models without any middleman can just read and just write on top of these IPs. And it's just like having now a barcode into the IP where you can fork and remix and license the IP very easily. And what we've done is it's kind of what we've done with licensing and royalty sharing and allowing this kind of global remixing layer is it's kind of like what actually Y Combinator did to a Series Seed and a seed stage investments. It used to be 100 pages of Series Seed docs. Now it became a 1-page, 2-page, 3-page safe notes, and you can really, really easily invest into startups by just picking out, playing with certain numbers, right? In the same way, we have a set number of parameters you can set around your IP, and all these are actually supercharging copyright law that already exists to do a million transactions, billion transactions a day instead of just like few transactions that's administered by mountains of legal documents, army of lawyers, right? So I just want to give you examples of applications that actually now uses this programmable intellectual property layer. First is the co-creation, now extremely powered and supercharged by generative AI. And the second one is going to be about generative AI IP attribution. But the first is, an apps like Sakai. Sakai, I can play it with here because of the, I don't have the mouse here for this presentation. But what it does is it's like Roblox for storytelling. Anyone can contribute different characters. Anyone can bring existing characters into our blockchain. Any actually narrative universe owners. It can be Marvel, it can be DC, it can be Bored Apes Yacht Club, it can be Azuki. They can bring different universes into this app. And you can just click different universes, click different characters, click different scenes, click different music pieces that other people own, other people made, and actually create a very, very intriguing anime. They won the entire Ethereum Denver Hackathon out of 250 teams and just raised a really good venture funding. Another company is that I want to show is like Ablo, which is a fashion Legoland concept, right? They have everyone from Dolce & Gabbana to Balmain that are registered IPs on our chain, and then basically now you can customize and remix Balmain or Dolce & Gabbana's IP with generative AI and create your own fashion product and actually sell it to third parties and actually have a revenue split with the owner and all these other players, right? So what it does is with generative AI, you have godlike tools of creation, and now we're giving you these amazing Lego pieces, ingredients in the forms of in the forms of programmable IP for you to create amazing creation. And back in the days, you have to go through 30 different legal negotiations through hundreds of lawyers to actually bring 20 characters, 10 music pieces, 5 narrative universe, or 3 different fashion IP brands to actually, a different fashion IP brand to make your new fashion product. But this is all a single click. And when you monetize, it does a back-end royalty sharing, back-end kind of attribution and provenance, right? So another thing that we believe is we want to be the intellectual property layer in the age of generative AI. And what is so many kind of crypto AI stuff that I've seen is that they're just decentralizing what's already working extremely well in the AI space. And what we believe crypto can uniquely do for AI is actually serving as intellectual property layer for the age of AI. And we think every single elements that are going into the creative process of actually AI can be an IP Lego. Can be an IP Lego with the built-in licensing royalty sharing term that can be inputs, training data sets, fine-tuning data sets, even AI models can now be remixed. You can remix 10 different character models to come up with a new model. So AI model itself is a new IP, new form of IP. And outputs should also have their own set terms around the licensing, right? You can have, an AI model set royalty sharing, licensing terms around the outputs, and every single output will have a metadata tag around how that IP should be used by others, right? So now you have training data set, foundational model, fine-tuning data sets, and fine-tuned models, right? And each piece, let's say when you're remixing fine-tuning data sets and AI existing model and having a fine-tuned model, and fine-tuned model is actually making a lot of outputs, and some of these outputs are making money, there should be a revenue going back to these models and data set owners, right? So I think we have 2 very, very actionable focus areas we're working on. The first is we're working with the leading open source foundational model company that we don't want to disclose yet to basically use their foundational model, and we have a very good creative very good IP owners. It can be Grimes data sets, it can be Beeple data sets, it can be very good creative top IP creator data sets. Now it can be used as fine-tuning data set to fine-tune the model, but when it's fine-tuning the model, it has actually a built-in royalty sharing licensing terms. It can be like 50-50 revenue share, 50-50 whatever. And actually, when all these IPs are monetizing on SoundCloud, to Spotify, or different applications, there should be a split between data model owner and the actually fine-tuning data set owner. And also, where there could be very interesting, we recognize each AI model as an IP. Even different character models can be remixed to create an output, right? And we actually have a very, very seasoned entrepreneurs from Korea, my home country, Korea, who've had a massive exit to Living Social, to Naver back in the days, to actually create a Web3 GitHub for image models and image data sets with on-chain, with the value capture layer, with on-chain licensing and royalty sharing layer. And actually now there's an entire IP graph of AI models, data sets, and of derivative fine-tuned data sets, right? So the future that we're trying to carve out is that at the moment, all the value capture is happening on the closed source model. And OpenAI is just doing a backroom licensing deal with Shutterstock. Google is doing a backroom licensing deal with Warner Music. And actually everything's just like, being done in the backroom and closed source way. All the open guys are not making money. I mean, Meta can do with it because Meta is massive. But we need an open source value capture marketplace and a market that should be created. And we want to create the future by having an IP monetization for AI models, a layer for AI models and data set owners, right? And the vision is, I think there are 2 visions of story. One is the defensive vision, which is we want to serve as the IP monetization, protection, incentivization layer for the age of AI. This is exciting. This is meaningful. But the more exciting vision that we are about is the empowering vision, the offensive vision. We want to create with our blockchain gigantic IP Legoland. What if all the images, all the music pieces, all the AI models, what if all the games are now Lego pieces that you can frictionlessly fork, remix, and license without any middleman, without going through lawyers and mountains of legal docs? Now, back in the days, even if you have these Legos, there's not much you can do. But now you have a godlike tools of generative AI. And if you give humans godlike tools of generative AI and these IP Legos, we'll come up with the best sequel to Harry Potter, the best sequel to Star Wars, the best sequel to any games that you've seen. And I think this gigantic IP Legoland vision that we're building at Story is the exciting vision, not the just defensive, protective vision. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.